Our second speaker is Gareth McHale with a speech entitled What's in a Name? With a speech entitled What's in a Name? Would you please welcome Gareth McHale?
Mr. Contest Chair, ladies and gentlemen, what's in a name, Shakespeare asked, and then went on to show that if that name isn't Montague or Capulet, then rather a lot really. He put his famous couple strictly off limits to each other, thereby rendering the old star-crossed loving a bit on the perilous side. And even today, a person's name has a lot to pigeonhole them. For instance, if you're due to meet somebody called Goldberg, or Halligan, or Farkas and Smythe, then you probably formed some pretty definite ideas about what you think they're going to be like. But of course that's surnames. The same can't possibly be true of Christian names, because after all, parents are free to choose without limit across the entire spectrum. And this at a time when the child has not been able to develop any character traits. Or canons. How many times have you heard someone say, "Oh, he doesn't look like a Nigel," so clearly there are some expectations. Let me give you a glimpse into the fascinating world of names. Now, the last few years have seen the rise of a new social science. Monicology studies the correlation between Christian or given names and personality types. So far, there are very few monicologists in the country. Very few indeed. Why? Let me show you some of my wares. Now, you'll all be familiar with the chinless, floppy-haired public school type, generally dressed in an eclectic selection of clothing of impeccable quality, but questionable sartorial style, and with an aptitude for dancing more normally associated with Turkish performing bear. Well, he is as he is, as a direct result of being christened Rupert, Piers, or Crispin, and not the other way around. Similarly, Sophie, Charlotte, and Camilla will, by their 16th birthday, inevitably be going weak at the knees at the thought of dancing with Rupert and Co at the Hunt Ball, despite the aforementioned limitations, and affecting a passion for champagne, Chanel, and Chamonix. Elsewhere in the social spectrum, Lee, Darren, Dean, and Sharon, Wayne, Dwayne, Shane, Kelly, Kane, Casey, and Kylie, cannot help but grow up into the sort of person we often describe by the word Essex. This is characterised by a career in hairdressing or used car sales, and a penchant for white footwear. That's stilettos for her, socks for him. Good, honest, unpretentious, never-let-you-down types, who above all are kind to animals, will be drawn from the ranks of Marys, Hazels, Grahams, and occasionally Jeremiahs. Emma, Lucy, and Maeve will be sweet, pretty things, dressed by Laura Ashley, and who would never embarrass you by overdoing the pre-prandial amontillado with your main aunt. Garys are generally wide boys, Sallys are tomboys, Larrys are Nancy boys, and Barrys wear grey shoes. Now, don't worry too much. It is not necessarily the case that every child is stereotyped at the first splash of the font. There are lots of safe or neutral names. Mark, Andrew, Helen, and Claire, John, Patrick, Richard, Steve, and Susan and Anne, for instance, are those for which I've found no positive character correlations. Yet. Gentlemen, if you're looking for love, let's face it, when are we not? A word of warning. Natasha, Anastasia, and Chantal may be chock-droppingly gorgeous, but beware. You may be taking on a pretentious, high-maintenance wannabe princess. Now, that selection of the heart-meltingly lovely soulmate is very difficult to generalise monichologically, in that it's such a personal choice. I find that James, Rachel's, and Siobhan's do it for me. But chaps, for a better than even universal bet, and be honest with yourselves here, did you ever meet a Fiona you didn't fancy? Parents, if you'd like your son to be that ruggedly handsome type, to set hearts aflutter in the Mills and Boon body-stripping sort of way, then I can recommend James, Rory, or Con. At all costs, avoid Colin. This is a name previously I regret that today's young Collins are condemned to the ranks of a lank-haired computer nerd. Preferring the interface to the interpersonal, they're unlikely ever to develop a relationship more sophisticated than an unrequited longing for Lara Croft. An interesting sub-branch of the main subject is that of truncatomonychology, the study of abbreviations, which could sometimes be almost important as the name itself. For example, if we have a Daniel with sporting aspirations, it's vital that he choose his abbreviation commensurate with his preferred sport. As Dan, he's virtually guaranteed a first team place as a wing three-quarter with Bath or Harlequins, whereas Danny is far more mercurial inside left, knocking him in for Bristol City or Aston Villa. Your unabbreviated Daniel would never develop appropriate ball skills, but he might be a damn hand at chess. For the girls, Liz has a bright future in tennis or athletics. Elizabeth, far more three-day event. Whereas Lizzie, I think you'll agree, has beach volleyball written all over it. Now, this has just been a very brief look into the wonderful world of the monichologist. It's a very new, young subject, but I believe it is one with a future to which I've committed myself. In fact, I've recently established a chair of monicology. It's a floppy old Chesterfield in the corner of my conservatory, for the comfort of which my mind is free to soar unfettered in the rarefied air of imagination, fueled by a heady mix of doner kebabs and snakebite. But I must stress that the discipline is as incomplete as it is imprecise. Therefore, if I fail to feature your particular name this afternoon, then please forgive me. If on the other hand I have featured your name this afternoon, then please forgive me. I would like to leave you with a final thought, a plea to new parents and parents-to-be. I urge you, think very carefully before you finalise your choices of names for those gurgling bundles of joy. Because, just like the school uniforms that are bought to last, they will grow into them.